All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's coming out to you is a couple of assignments, so you might have to go through and compile because you might not have been all in order. So you might have 2 or more in here. So get that out. All right, and then let's talk about S. Is that right?
Yeah. I'm doing nothing today.
To what? All right, let's take a look at S. See how we did.
Not good.
Not good? Okay, well, let's clarify it. Let's make sure we have it out. Let's make sure we can do really well. Have S out. All right, so looking on Worksheet S, page 149. I'm on the very first page. Let's take a look at that first. Okay, and if you're like, where's 149? Look at the very bottom of the page. It's at the bottom middle. Questions on page 149 on S. Let's see if we can figure this out. This guy's earbuds in.
Can you do 14?
Yeah, 14?
These are just for show. There's nothing like fun.
Gotcha. 14. I'll do 14 first. All right, so number 14 says this. We have a y-intercept at 0, 2. And we have a vertex at 3, 6. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess we could try and graph it on there, or we could just take a look at, do we have enough information to possibly plug into this and solve? And I think we do. I think we have enough information. It's nice that one of my points has a 0 as part of it. So let's try and plug into this equation and solve for A. So can I label this H and K? And does everyone feel comfortable why the vertex is labeled H and K and I didn't use X or Y? Mm-hmm. And then our y-intercept, that's fine. But we're going to label that X and Y. So then I'm just going to plug in. I don't know what my A value is. My X value is 0. My H value is 3. That's squared plus 6. Jeez, it's like I had a stroke in the middle of this problem. All right, that's a 6 supposedly. I think the biggest mistake that students will make on this problem is right here. And you want to know why? Well, let me ask you this. What is 3 squared?
9.
Okay, did you have to use a calculator on it?
No.
Yeah. No.
Okay, what is negative 3 squared?
9.
Did you have to use a calculator on it?
No.
But unfortunately, a lot of kids get the calculator out going, oh, I just have to double check. And watch what happens. Okay, so this is my point on this one. Let me just write this next step. Let me just show you this. And I want to show you this because you just told me the correct answer. Did anyone hear the wrong answer come out of it?
No.
Okay, so everyone feels comfortable doing that? But watch this. Let me quit out of this. For a second. Quit. I can't see it. It's blurry. Damn. There we go. All right, ready? So you all told me what the answer to this is, yes?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Positive 9?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
You all told me that. And I agree with all of you. So don't change your answer. But you get people that will be like, oh, okay. Oh, look. Oh, the calculator's got
No parentheses.
Yeah, there's no parentheses. But
Nice, bro.
But you have to watch out on this because you all know the simple arithmetic. But then you plug it in your calculator and go, oh, that must be like one of those exceptions to the rule. No. Realize if you plug that negative in on the calculator, make sure you have it in parentheses. Oops, don't do it to the -1. If you do this, you get your appropriate answer. Okay? So again, I wanted a word of caution on that. So we know how to do this. You just spoke to me how to do this. So you know that this is going to give me 9a plus 6. Is that okay? Subtract 6. And so I find that A is equal to negative 4 over 9. And that would be pretty tough to pattern graph that. So my equation is this. Done. Okay. And again, where's the only screw up that's going to take place? You're going to sit there and like, oh, negative 3 squared is negative 9 now. Okay. No, you just all told me the right answer. And I know it sounds goofy saying that, but it's amazing how many people completely goof up squaring a negative. You all know it's positive, and you look at your calculator going, oh. All right, what other questions did we come across off the homework? 20? 20. 20. Ooh, okay. Table shows. Ooh, I like this. Number 20. It says the table shows how wind affects a runner's performance in the 200-meter dash. Positive wind speed corresponds to tailwind, and negative to headwinds. So tailwinds means it's pushing you along, headwinds means you're running into it. Positive changes in finishing time mean worsened performance. A negative change means improved performance. Use quadratic regression on your calculator to write the model for the change t in the finishing time as a function of speed s. Also, okay. So I'm going to plug in that data, and I'm going to find the quadratic regression. That's all it is. So if you want to... What are you playing?
Like Clash Royale.
I know. He's like playing video games right behind you. Where's the kid? He's going to start playing with matches. You should see.
In his defense, it's a really fun game.
Okay. Okay. All right. If it's a really fun game, then I guess it's okay. All right. So, if you would like to work a lot on the calculator on this one, it'll be good practice. If you need to borrow one, you know where to go grab it. I'll give you a sec to go grab it. Which look? Anyone else need one? There's some more back there, I think.
Yeah.
So while you all are getting that, I need to tell. If you are a sophomore right now, there is a new graduation requirement that you should have heard of, but there are like 9 different capstones that will prove that you have math literacy as part of you. Okay? You only need to pass one of them. You only need to pass one of them. Now, I am on the Algebra 2 District Capstone Committee. Okay, which means I get to go once a month to these meetings and listen to how other schools have done poorly on it. And then they ask us, when has Cherry Creek given this exam? And we're like, not yet. Now, Eagle Crest, not to frighten anybody, but Eagle Crest gave this math capstone, the first one. There's 3 exams that go with it. You have to pass all 3. You have to get a 70%. Each test has, let me see. The first test has 10 questions. The second test has 10 questions. And the third test has 9 questions. You have to get, you can't miss, you can miss 3, 2, or 1, or none. And you pass it. You can take it as many times as you want, but you need to pass it. Now, I'm not quite sure how many of the sophomores in here have been privy to this information going, dude, there's something I have to pass for graduation. I can tell you that Cherry Creek High School is not in a panic mode on this. Cherry Creek High School is a really big ship, okay? And it takes a lot for Cherry Creek High School to change, okay? Which is great. I think it's good for you all. But I just needed to give you a heads up that this test is coming out. Now, Eagle Crest gave this to their honors.
Yeah, why don't we just give it to honors this year?
Well, I know. Because all students that are sophomores need to at least pass one of these 9 capstones. So, they gave it to their honors kids already. They just decided, hey, we're going to change the order of our stuff so we can give these tests on time so there's time for us to make a difference. And of course, myself and Mr. Mimak and Mr. Dwyer and Mr. Matischek, who are the 4 from Creek, and there was more teachers from Creek at the Capstone last night than there have been than any of the other schools. And like, boy, Creek, you guys were representing, which we all kind of know that, okay, yes, this sounds great. Somebody made this up and feels that this is appropriate. This is some Senate bill that has been passed. But Algebra 2 is a mile marker that you have to get to. So Eagle Crest had 126 students that are in their honors track. And let's see what was
19
No. And this was only the first exam. There's 2 more exams they have to take. They had, I think, 18 or 19 of that 126 that did not pass.
Oh.
And most of them got like a 6 out of 10. So they didn't pass, they didn't make it by 1. But they can retake the test with, go through and say, hey, I see that you missed this problem. Hey, this is how you do the problem. Okay, do this test again. I mean, that's really what this test is. And my feeling is, I don't want, if Cherry Creek High School's math department isn't panicking about this exam, I don't think any of you as sophomores in here need to panic about this exam. Do I think it's a great thing? I'm not going to go on my whole political stance. I think the education y'all are getting here is fine. I don't need to prove it by having you take 3 different 10-question exams. But unfortunately, the state says, hey, you have to do this. Now, other capstones that are there that you could pass in place of Algebra 2, just in case you didn't do well with Algebra 2 for whatever reason, which y'all are doing really well, which is great. You can take college algebra next year and earn a 60% or higher, and that satisfies it. So you take college algebra here at this school. Okay, doesn't sound too bad so far. You can take the ASVAB, which is the military exam, and you score certain points in there. Okay, but I'm not going into military. Okay, I get it. If you take the ACT and get a 17 or higher on it, that satisfies it. You take the SAT, and I forget what the score on the SAT was. But it's like, honestly, it's like, oh, at the 40th percentile, meaning 60% of the people nationwide did better than you, is how low the marker is. Then, or you could take an advanced placement math class and score a 2 or higher. Well, 2 is not even passing AP, but you could get a 2 or higher. You could take one of the international baccalaureate classes, the IB classes, so you'd have to go over to the Smoky Hill or Cherokee Trail to do it, and take that class. And that IB exam is based on 7 points, and I think you have to get a 3 on it. That satisfy it. You can go get some sort of industry certification, which is a math-related industry certification, and satisfy it. And I think I just hit almost all the capstones that there are. So, can you all see why we're not trying to change the world here at Creek to comply with this test? So,
We don't have to take this test?
yeah, so the first test that you will take is going to be based on polynomials. We haven't done polynomials yet. So I think you will take it by the end of the semester. It's on the computer. Everyone will take it, and I'll put it in as bonus points or something. Or give you replace that, and I'll replace you don't have to take the final exam if you get a 9 out of 9 or a 10 or 10 on it or something like that.
What?
We'll have some good incentive. So that way, when we go back to our capstone in January saying, hey, how all the kids did on this first test, Cherry Creek can sit there and say, 100% of our kids in Algebra 2 took it and they passed it. And then all the rest of the schools are like, how can you do that? It's like, well, we teach. So that's just, so I don't want anyone to panic, have frustrations. We have a plan in place. I think it's a pretty good plan in place for a student that might have to take it a second or a third or a fourth time. we will get kids, especially in algebra, accelerated algebra 2 and our honors track, you will get through and we'll hit this capstone. And I don't want you to cry yourself to sleep or anything like that about it. Okay? We have a thing in place for you if you need to take it a second or a third time.
There's no cap on the possibility.
Okay. Oh, I'm good. But I will get some in a little bit. Thank you so much. All right. I want to go ahead and do this number 20. I know I spent a little bit of too much time. So I am just going to double check. Let's see. I do need to turn my stat plot on. So I can go here, turn my stat plot on. All looks good. Does everyone feel comfortable with that? If you're borrowing a calculator, go into y equals. Make sure there's nothing there. Clear out anything. Realize this does go down to y0. So just make sure there's nothing in there. Oh, dude. Thanks. I love you guys. All right. So now I want to plot my data, and I think I still have my my diagnostics on. I didn't reset this calculator. So I want to plug this data in. So I'm going to hit stat. Still with me?
Yep.
I'm going to hit stat, edit. And I do have some data in there, so I can do one of two things. I can just overwrite it, or I can go up, hit clear, push down. Go over here, hit up, hit clear, push down. Don't hit delete. Clear is a different button than delete. Okay? The clear button's here, so that's the one you want to hit. And my wind speed I'm going to plug in. So it looks like I have -6, and I have -4, and I have -2. And I have 0, 2, 4, 6. Is that okay so far?
Yeah.
And then for -6, it has 2.28. And for -4, I have 1.42. And for -2, I have 0.67. And for 0, I have 0. I think I know what the vertex is, but. And then for 2, I have -0.57. And for 4, I have -105. 1.05, excuse me. And for 6, I have -1.42. All right. Does that seem like I have the data in there correctly? Blessing you. Blessing you. Olivia, where are you at? Olivia A. Rachel M. There you go. Good job. Looks like all of the 19 people might have been here. Mohammed?
Yep.
All right. All right, ready?
Yeah.
Here we go. So how can I make sure I see my data right now when I hit my graph? So zoom what? Not zoom fit, it's zoom. I'm using zoom stat, right? The reason I do zoom stat is I can see that. Now, I might want to just zoom out a little bit, because that kind of looks like a linear correlation. It says the table shows the wind performance positive. They want us to use quadratic regression, even though it looks like a line. Does everyone feel that it kind of looks like it falls into a line? But they want us to use quadratic regression, so maybe there's some quadratic that comes down and does this. I don't know. But let's figure this out. So I'm going to go, shoot, how did I find quadratic regression? Dang it, I forget. It was under stat, I think. Was it stat? How do I find quadratic regression? Calculate. And then I'm looking for quadratic regression, so I'm going to hit cubic regression, right? No, I'm going to hit quad regression. Number 5. And I think my R values are still, my R is still in there. Hey, yeah, it is. Okay, cool. Oh, look at that. I mean, my R squared is 99.999% sure that we have a quadratic that fits along with our data. Okay. So if they ask for the equation, you're going to write y equals 0.0119x squared plus negative 0.3086. And then your C value is really close to 0. I mean, you could put in negative 0.00047 if you wanted to, but it's pretty close. But if you write that, this would be your equation. Does everyone feel comfortable how that would take place?
Yeah.
The r squared does not go into your equation anyhow. The r squared is just kind of like, hey, dude, you're looking pretty good with your stuff. All right, so I now want to plug that into y equals. How do I do this? How do I plug it in? The regression's done. Vars, thank you. Vars what? Statistics. Equation number 1. And grapharoo. Oh, that's what it looks like. Okay. So the table's shown how wind affects a runner's performance in the 200-meter dash. Positive wind speeds correspond to tailwinds. Negative wind speed corresponds to headwinds. Positive changes in finishing time mean worsened performance, and negative changes mean improved performance. Use quadratic regression and your calculator to write a quadratic model for the change in t in the finishing line as a function of wind speed. Also state the value of r squared. Oh, we're all done. We just had to write that equation. After we write that equation, we had our whatever it was. Whatever our equation was, and we had that r squared. That's all we had to do. There was nothing more. Anything else you'd like to see off of S? Anything else off of S? Did you want to hear the gross thing that we showed in the med class today?
Yes.
You hear that, right?
As long as it's not too gross.
Kate's not here.
Kate's not here to say,
There
ew.
were two
Mr. Stroke,
graphics
you share a
right
fun
now.
story too.
Quadricep, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think?
Homeless person brought into the emergency room with an open sore that went down to the bone.
Ew, ew, ew,
Oh.
And the
ew,
video
ew.
clip had maggots crawling through it.
Nice.
You
And of
should-
course the doctor's like, oh yeah, those maggots, they found a nice little home. It's great.
Mr. Stroke.
I really
What
want
about
to
the
eat this
husband?
food more.
The husband?
Mhm.
Oh yeah, some guy lost his, they amputated that guy's leg, right? Husband was caught cheating on his wife, so the wife ran him over with the car. And his leg was,
God,
whoo!
don't hurt.
What's the guy's name where his wife cut off his, you know what? He became famous for it? Ear? Nah, you know what I'm talking about. Wasn't his ear.
What in his ear?
Wasn't his ear.
Alright, what other questions do we have? Anything else on S? Going once? Okay.
Mr. Stroke,
Yeah.
can you do 10?
10? Yeah. Let me do 16, then 10. All right. Number 16. Let's get off the screen. Oops. Number 16. We have these points given. Okay. Honestly, I would use the graphing calculator on this one. I know that because I have roots here, I could easily say, oh, that goes along with x minus 4. That goes along with x minus 2. But then we have to figure out 5 comma 6. I mean, I guess you could easily do that and say, okay, if I have 4 here and 2 here, and then I have 5 comma 6, hey, what's my a value then? Because right in here, this would have been, I have a vertex down here. So right one, oh wait, this would have been down 2 actually. How do I know this is down 2? Because if I went right one up 6, how do I go right one up 6 with my pattern graphing? So remember, it's 1, 3, 5. My second move needs to be a 6, so what does my a value have to be?
6. I mean, 3.
2.
2.
Because 2 times 3. So I guess I could have done this and said, hey, y equals 2 parentheses x minus 4x minus 2. Maybe they wanted us to multiply it out so I can get x squared minus 6x plus 8. So maybe they wanted this as your equation. I don't know. Either, so if you would have plugged that into the graphing calculator, you would have gotten that for the answer. But I just used some logic. And what was, which one? 10. 10 can be done the same way. Assume we can walk through the same process. So I got negative 10 comma 0, negative 8 comma 0. And then we have some random point at negative 7, negative 15. Okay, I'd say this is going to be opening downward. So negative 10, 0 is down here. Negative 8, 0 is here. So the vertex is definitely right in between them. And then let's figure this out. So the vertex is somewhere in here, because this is doing this somehow, okay? So let's figure this out. At negative 7, so over here, I go down to 15. Negative 15, right? So that's got to be the second move. So again, my pattern graph is normally 1, 3, 5. I know in this case it's got to be negative 1, negative 3, negative 5. And being my second iteration, so I'm not worried about the vertex, but my second iteration is all the way down here. So what do I have to multiply times negative 3 to get to negative 15? 5. So then that means my equation needs to be x plus 10, x plus 8. Let's multiply this out. X squared plus 18x plus 80 times 5. So right there is my equation. If you wanted to go a little further, you can say, oh, well, here's the equation. Plus 40, 90, 400. So, and that should be a negative because it opens down. So negative 5x squared plus 90x. I forgot an x right here. Minus plus 400. All right, pass that one up. Make sure your name's on it. And then get out worksheet 5T because we're going to just work on that a little bit together. Make sure we got it right. There's one little thing I had forgotten to tell you on the, if you had worked on it at all, you probably saw that I didn't write the interval notation for the zeros, which is okay. We'll totally will. Totally will.
We shouldn't turn it.
I didn't turn it to you. I'll take tea on Monday, but I'm going to go over.
Yeah.
To make sure you're good. Is that all right? All right, so T should be out. We're not going to collect it today. We're going to just take a look at it. All right, so what do you want to see off of T?
Number 4.
4?
Yeah.
Whole thing, it's not really an option. Go back and watch the video if you're that stuck.
4 is a tricky little one.
All right, so that's number 4, yes?
Yeah.
All right, let's factor this. Let's see if we can be quick about factoring it. Of course, I'm going to slow things down. B and I have a negative there. I imagine those both have to be positive. Let's see, is that going to work out for us? Negative x, and then, all right, 11x, 4, and 7 should work. 4 and 7. Is that going to work for us? Now I got a negative in there. I agree with the plus 11. Did I write down right? I did. Oh no, that's not gonna work. Okay, so this might need to be a negative 7. Let's see if that works. Okay, so negative 4x plus 7x I got there. Flip the signs. That gives me the negative 28. No.
See, it's tricky, huh?
Do we have an answer on this one?
No, I'll see.
There wasn't an answer on there? I don't think this one is going
I
to.
told you it's a good
Can we
question.
just X out?
I think this is
If
a.
you can't do it, then we should.
I think it doesn't factor at this point, and I'm not asking you to use the quadratic formula. I think you just wrote it down incorrectly. All right, what else should we see? Number 8.
Wait, were we supposed to
Hey,
do?
by the way, you fill this with me.
Was I supposed to do what?
Were we supposed to like start T?
Yeah, but if you didn't, I have no idea.
Embarrassing.
All right, on this one, I'm going to do this first. Is that okay? And then let's factor this. So let's talk about my sign line. I'm going to have 0 and 3. Is that okay?
Because on the notes, I might have taken them wrong, but you just took 2 out. And then you just had an x squared minus 3.
Yeah, because this comes out to this.
Yes.
So then that's where 0. Open dot, open dot. All right, so this is a positive. So over here, this is positive, negative, positive. We want values that are greater than 0. So the thing I forgot to show you, this is going out to negative infinity. This is going out to infinity. So I want positive values. So from negative infinity to 0, rounded brackets on both because I don't equal it. And then from 3 to infinity. So that's the interval notation. That's where I'd like you to get to. Show on the sign line, interval notation. Good to go. What else off of T? 10? Okay. Can I move off this one? 10. 9 minus x squared is less than or equal to 0. That's difference of 2 squares, agreed? So 3 plus x, 3 minus x. And so on a sign line, I'm going to have positive 3 and I'm going to have negative 3. Being it's a negative x squared, being I have a negative x squared, that means out here that's negative and here is positive, out here is negative because it would be a parabola open upside down. I want values less than 0, so I want my negative values. So you have to remember that that's a negative and positive. So negative infinity to negative 3, square bracket. Why is it a square bracket, not rounded? Because there's an equal sign. And then from 3, square bracket to infinity. And there's our answer. Anything else?
Let's do 20. Story time.
20.
Are we doing notes today?
No, I've just kind of had a chill day.
You're so nice.
Well, it was like a chill day, so let's get caught up and kind of refresh ourselves. All right. I'm gonna first thing I'm gonna factor on this is I'm gonna factor a 5 out. Is that okay? This is now a perfect square. Perfect square, so x minus 2, x minus 2 is greater than 0. Okay, so I want values greater than 0. I only have a value here. This is a parabola opens up, so both sides are positive. There's no negative component. I want values that are greater than 0, so I want the positive. But I can't include this point because that point's 0. I don't have the equal sign. So from negative infinity to 2, and from 2 to infinity is our interval notation for this one.
So we can just draw straight line.
Yeah. But the interval notation I think we're trying to get to on these as well. Yeah, it's a state and interval notation. That's the blue. Anything else from the new stuff?
Can you do 11?
Yeah. I hope so. Number 11. We have negative 10x minus x squared is greater than 25. So things I could do here is this. What did I do to get there? I just added the stuff on the left to move it to the right side. Okay, so now I'm going to flip-flop this whole thing. I'm going to flip-flop it so it tells us what we're looking for. So this is going to flip over, not because I'm multiplying or dividing by a negative. I'm just showing that. Is that okay? This is a perfect square trinomial, so it's x plus 5, x plus 5. And we want less than 0. So x plus 5 only happens one spot at negative 5. Okay, I want values less. I want values less than, right? But here's the problem.
No values.
So look at, there's two different ways to look at this problem. If I were to have solved this to be this, what kind of parabola is this? It's upside down. Even though this one's right side up, I don't have values less. So if I base my sign line off of this, I can say that's positive and positive, which says, hey, I want values that are less than 0. So I have no solution here. So if you were to do the interval notation, you could have it as this, like an empty set.
Is it like a diagonal? Does it matter if it's a diagonal circle?
Yeah, you could do a diagonal, one or the other.
Okay.
Just don't put 0.
Yeah. Could you write NS or does it have to be in the middle?
If I had an equal sign right here, we'd have one solution, which would be the negative 5. But we don't. All right, so it doesn't matter which one you look at. If I look at this one, I realize I have two positive. If I looked at this one, I'd have two negatives. Either way, I can't solve it because of the inequality. Anything else from S? Or T, excuse me. We good? All right, this is my plan. So on Monday, I am going to collect T.
And you.
Okay? And then Tuesday, we are going to collect U and quiz. Well, that's all I have is quizzes in here. All right, U, when you look at it, is a big review. So make sure we have questions on U on Monday, but I also am going to start polynomials on Monday, so we do have some lecture.
What? That's so much.
Don't worry, it's what I always do. So it's not nothing new. Nothing new under the sun. But that's all I got for you.
You're killing on time.